Hello friends, and I welcome all of you to this course known as British Poetry. Friends, in this course we were discussing in Unit 1 about Geoffrey Chaucer's The Canterbury Tales, Prologue to Tales and the Tale of Wife of Bath. We saw that the Tale of the Wife of Bath was written at the time of King Arthur, the golden age of the ancient times, and the story is talking about the dominance of wife over their husbands. It is not about one wife, it is about all the wives. What do they expect from their husbands? The complete dominance over their husbands, the acceptability from their husband sides towards women, which shows the text as a, let's say, this story, this tale as a masterpiece. Now, in this 30 minutes lecture, we are going to look at another aspect of Geoffrey Chaucer's work, that is the estate satire. What kind of satire is this work, and why this work, Canterbury Tales, is known as the estate satire? But before moving towards the, let's say, the topic, let us try to understand that what we are going to learn from this lecture. What will be the lecture outcome of this 30 minutes duration? First, you would be able to understand the tale of the wife of Bath as an estate satire. The second outcome will be you would be able to comprehend the setting of pilgrimage and storytelling in the light of the select text. Friends, this is right. Both the objectives will be fulfilled. First, you will learn about what is the concept of estate satire. Second, you would be able to understand the setting in which this story is written, what kind of pilgrimage these people are moving towards, and what kind of society they are living in, with the help of the setting created by Geoffrey Chaucer in this work. So, without wasting any time, let us move toward the title, The Estate Satire. Friends, there are three kinds of estates. This is not estate. Estate is S-T-A-T-E. This is estate. Estate means the categories of people who are moving in this possession, who are moving in this pilgrimage. And there are three kinds of estates which are mentioned in this, let's say, book, The Canterbury Tales. Let us talk about them one by one now. In The Canterbury Tales by Geoffrey Chaucer, the main characters fall into one of the three basic estates or social classes. In feudal English society, estates were used to categorize people. So friends, we had seen in this story that how the people are being categorized into, let's say, society, to which, let's say, category they belong. Like in the Indian society also, we had the castes deciding the profession of the people 100 years back. In the same way, there were different communities in the society and they belonged to the different categories. The first estate was the church and the members of its religious hierarchy. The five characters in the Canterbury Tales who fall into this class include the prioress, monk, friar, parson, and pardoner. Friends, this is interesting to note that Chaucer do not want to emphasize on the real names of these people. Rather, these people are called with their professions in the prologue to Canterbury Tales. Prioress is not, let's say, focused upon through Chaucer's, let's say, work, Canterbury Tales, with her real name. Rather, she is called as prioress only. Same applies to monk, friar, parson, pardoner, etc. But all these people are representing the category of church and the members of that religious hierarchy of the church. So, you can understand that Chaucer is emphasizing on a particular community in the British society, that is related to church and churchmen. These characters were born into one of the other two estates and choose to commit their lives to the church. Friends, we can understand that these people belong to church. They have spent their whole life in working for Christianity, for the religion, and they have a mental mindset which teaches them about, let's say, religious activities only. They would have been expected to behave in a pious and devout manner without too much attachment to material goods. Friends, this is right. In Indian context also, when we think about any religious person, spiritual person, we think that the person will not be interested in the material goods, the society, the social affairs, etc. Rather, they will focus more on the spiritual efforts. But as we see in the Canterbury Tales, these characters meet these expectations to varying degree. And this can be called as a light humor of Chaucer. To some extent, these characters match to those religious moral duties, but to some extent they do not. And this is the realism of the literature of Geoffrey Chaucer. The second estate consisted of the nobility, including aristocratic families like dukes and other royals such as the knight squire in the Canterbury Tales. Friends, this is again right. Now, what is the second estate? The second estate is related to nobility, aristocratic families. The knights, squire, etc., they are included into this category. Harry Bailey, the innkeeper in the book, suggests that the knight tell his story first when the pilgrims begin their storytelling context, acknowledging that the knight is highly ranked in society. Friends, this is right. In that society, the knights were considered on the highest rank, directly approachable to the king. They can directly meet the king and queen, and the king and queen had to trust their words. So, those knights are represented well, let's say, in this story, the Canterbury Tales. However, after the knight tells his story, the miller insists on telling his next, disrupting the social order. This detail seems to suggest that Chaucer is comfortable with questioning and disrupting the feudal society order in general. Friends, there is one incident where a miller wants to tell his story immediately after the knight by breaking the social order. Chaucer do not mind that, suggesting that Chaucer is against the hierarchy in the society. The hierarchy of the knight will come first, then this, then this, then this. Rather, the Chaucer was the believer of individuality, individual people. What is their, let's say, qualification? What is the quality? What is their, let's say, their moral standard, etc. The third estate was composed of the peasants, or the people who produced food and clothing for the higher estates, such as the plowmen. Now, friends, in this, let's say, in this story, Canterbury Tales, we have the now lower estate or the lower section in the society, in which peasants are included, the workers who work for the, let's say, other people's fields, or when other people outsource their work, these peasants are there to complete them. So, the plowman falls into the category of, let's say, this field, and there is a production of food and clothing which is done by these people, plowmen, etc. As a character in the Canterbury Tales, the plowman best represent this estate, and this is right. The plowman was the category, friends, in the British society of Geoffrey Chaucer, who were the true representative of that third estate or the third section. Their importance cannot be neglected. It cannot be denied, and thus Chaucer had given an equal weightage and a satisfactory weightage to the story and the character portrait of this plowman also. Women in feudal society were categorized differently. Like men, they were born into one of the three estates, but these categories were based on what people do for a living. Friends, when we talk about that feudal society of Geoffrey Chaucer and the condition of women into that, we may feel that women, if they are born in any of these three estates or any of these three categories, whether it is related to the churchmen or the, let's say, royal families, or the third one is of, let's say, the people who produce food and clothing, the condition of women is always similar. They are neglected, they are ignored, they are not given a weightage, and they are treated as an object in the society. Women were also categorized in their relation to men and sexual status, virgin, wife or widow. Friends, this is also pathetic, but this is true, that if we talk about the society of Geoffrey Chaucer, we find that women have set roles to play. They cannot, let's say, live the life according to their own preferences, but rather they are preferred in these roles. The women are considered as virgin before marriage, then they are considered as wife after marriage, and then the women are considered as widow after their husband's death. But in all these three roles, the women are dependent on men for their survival, for their status, for their reputation, and for their livelihood. They do not have their independent existence, rather they are dependent on males in the society. In the Canterbury Tales, the two female characters are the prioress and the wife of Bath, who would have belonged to the first estate and mercantiles classes respectively. Friends, when we talk about this story, the Canterbury Tales, we find only two characters as women characters. One is the prioress, other one is the wife of Bath. And both of these characters belong to the mercantile class or the first estate, or the, let's say, estate related to the church and religion. And these two women have well, let's say, tried to prove their status and their dominance on men and in the society. The wife of Bath is a woman of passion who desires most of all to be more powerful than her men, her spouse or her lover. When we look at the prologue and her tale, we are able to see who she is and get a real sense of how she actually views herself. This is right, friends. When we talk about, let's say, the wife of Bath, we find that she is a woman of passion. She has her desires, and she is very powerful in dominating over men, her spouse or her lover or her husband or any other men in the society, because she is a lady who moves ahead with her desire, with her passion. When we look at the prologue and her tale, we are able to see who she is and to get a real sense of how she actually views herself. Friends, we can come to a conclusion that wife of Bath is someone who respects herself, her identity, her ideology, her way of thinking, and which is why if she respects herself, we must also respect her opinion. She is confident about her knowledge of love, virginity, and marriage, because she has been married 5 times and declares that her experience is more important than knowledge derived from scholars and books. Friends, this is also right. Wife of Bath is a very experienced lady. She married 5 times. So she thinks that her knowledge is better than of the scholars and books in the society, and which is why she respects herself, she loves herself very much. She is very original for a traditional type of women because she does not feel shameful for her experiences in life. Instead, she feels that living by experience is the smartest way to live. Friends, wife of Bath is a very interesting character. Why? Because she pretends herself to be a very smart lady, and she loves her smartness, she loves her experiences, and she is a very practical lady. She do not believe on the bookish knowledge. As a poem goes on, Geoffrey Chaucer paints a very controversial portrait of the wife of Bath. On one hand, she is crude, sexually explicit, and hypocritical, but on the other hand, she is witty, courageous, and radical. Friends, Geoffrey Chaucer presented wife of Bath with a very, let's say, balanced manner. there are some good aspects also in her behavior and bad aspects also. In good aspect, she is shown as a crude, sexually explicit and hypocritical lady. On the other hand, she is shown as a witty, courageous and radical kind of character. So, we can understand that wife of Bath is a lady who is shown in her full, let's say, possibilities of women portrayal through Geoffrey Chaucer. She is proud of her life, and the fact that she has had 5 husbands at the church door does not shame her in any way. On the contrary, she truly believes in her philosophy and her virtues and supports them with citations from the Bible. Friends, we cannot say that wife of Bath was an illiterate lady. She knows the, let's say, sermons of Bible. She reads, and which is why she often quotes the references from the religious books into her, let's say, stories, into her references. That is ironic, because she is opposing women's oppression with the piece of literature that has been used by men as a justification of women's oppression. Friends, this is also interesting to note in the story that most of the religious texts, let's say, has shown the superiority of men over women. But wife of Bath is taking reference of these books, these religious sermons, these religious texts to show the dominance of women over men, or the superiority of women over men, which shows that she has that kind of critical opinion towards these religious books. She questions if the Bible commands virginity and marriage only one time, but realizes that in fact many men in the Bible had more than one wife. Well, friends, she has a very valid point to ask. She asked this question from the other, let's say, pilgrims in the group, that if Bible commands virginity and marriage only one time, then how it happened then that there are many characters in the Bible who have married, let's say, several times, more than one wife. She speaks about this in this quotation, and I quote from the text: Lamech and he begat me, I wot well Abraham was an holy man, and Jacob eke, as far as every I can, and each of had wives more than one, and many another holy men also. Friends, she takes the reference of Abraham, she takes the reference of Jacob, and she says that these characters have more than one wives. So how can we say that God, let's say, believes in only one wife relationship with one man? So if one man can marry many wives, then many, let's say, one lady can also marry many men. Chaucer uses irony and satire to challenge the church's oppression of women by allowing the wife of Bath to speak freely about sex, marriage, and women's desire. Friends, we can think that when Chaucer created this character of wife of Bath, he is, let's say, trying to create an irony and satire on church. He wished to challenge the, let's say, established norms of church on women. Chaucer develops her character gap-toothed, earthly old hag who is honest, witty and funny. She brags about lying, cheating and deceiving her husband. She shows little sympathy to any of the men in her life. Friends, when we look at the character of wife of Bath, she is not portrayed as very beautiful lady and, let's say, very virtuous to her husbands. Rather, she is shown as a sympathetic towards all men in the society. Yet she is a woman of a strong character who knows what she wants and continuously fight against male dominance. The challenges that the wife of Bath confronted in the 14th century are the same challenges that women are still facing today. Friends, we can consider the character of wife of Bath as a strong female character of the 14th century, because in that century women were completely, let's say, under the influence of men. They had no existence, and wife of Bath who respects herself and respects her opinions in that century suggest a very different kind of, let's say, portrayal of women by Geoffrey Chaucer. Although our society has become more lenient and accepting, women still struggle to gain the same sexual freedom and social power that men have always held. Friends, we can look at the present society and then compare that still women are struggling to get sexual freedom in their life and about their marriage. Another aspect which is related to this, let's say, topic is pilgrimage and storytelling. How pilgrimage and storytelling are explained by Geoffrey Chaucer in his work. In the general prologue, Chaucer describes wife of Bath as a deep, gap-toothed woman. She has a bold face and wears 10 pounds of coverchief and hat on her head. She wears a skirt with red stockings and tight-laced supple shoes. She is also a great weaver and has been on many pilgrimages. She is described in the general prologue as being a worthy woman who has only had 5 husbands. She knows all the remedies of love and is an expert at preaches and practices the art of love. Friends, this is right. When Chaucer explains the pilgrimage and the different pilgrims, he gives a very different character portrayal to this wife of Bath, shown as wearing, let's say, red stockings, tight-laced supple shoes. It means the appearance she has and the age she belongs to do not match with each other. Although she is aged, but with full of, let's say, colors in her life. In her prologue, the wife of Bath starts out by saying she is the believer in experience rather than authority. She says, experience though noon octori were in this world is right enough for me, suggesting that she believes in experience more than bookish knowledge. The wife of Bath argues that if God had condemned marriage and wanted people to be chaste, then where would people come from? If everyone was supposed to be chaste, then there would be no people and hence no seed for virginity to grow. This is a very valid point, friends. If God did not believe in sexuality, then where all these people are coming from? The reproduction process happens because of doing sex with the other, let's say, with other person. The wife of Bath believes that everyone has a gift from God and she thinks that her sexuality is her gift. People are called to different works by God and hers is her sexuality. She does not envy virginity but believes that virginity is perfection and is not meant for everyone. Friends, wife of Bath although respects virginity, but she do not want to practice virginity. Rather, she likes sexuality. She says, I nil envy no virginity, let him be breed of pure white seed, and let this wife's hot barely breed. So friends, suggesting that she respects virginity, but she do not want to practice it. The wife of Bath believes that the husband is in his wife's slave and owes her for life. She believes that as his wife, she has control and power over him and owns his body and flesh. This is serious inversion of church teachings in which women were subordinate to men, but oddly enough, the idea of husband owing the wife the marriage debt of sex and the financial support is found from an early date the Jewish religious text and law. For example, it is thus the husband's duty to pay his wife his sexual debt for life according to the wife of Bath. The wife of Bath is extremely blunt and open about her ideas and her sexuality. Friends, wife of Bath is taking example from religious books. This is interesting. And she is trying to prove that men after marriage take services of women, but they do not pay anything to them. So, when the women are making physical relationship with men, it is a duty of the men to pay services to women, and women must dominate those men. The partner is offended by what she says and interrupts her to tell her that he was considered marriage, but after what he has heard, he is grateful that he is still single. Friends, there is one incident when wife of Bath was telling her tale. A pardoner interrupts in between. he thinks that he is going to get married, he is still single, and then he decides not to get married and to remain single because he was afraid of the story of wife of Bath. In her prologue, she tells the other pilgrims about the techniques she had used to gain control over her first 3 husbands. She says, "I governed them so well after my law." She hates the fact that her 4th husband had a mistress, so to punish him, she makes him jealous by letting him think that she is not faithful to him, even though she really is. Friends, wife of Bath is a revengeful lady. She wants to behave in the same manner like the husband is behaving to her, which is why when she came to know that one of her husbands has a mistress, she also behaves in a manner that she is, let's say, not faithful to her husband, although she was, but she wanted to make the husband feel jealous in the same way like she is, let's say, feeling after hearing this news. She says, "In his own grace I made him fry." She gains sovereignty over her 4th husband only by surviving him. So which is why when he lived, he survived and she gained dominance over his personality. Even though age has taken always her youth and figure, it makes her feel good to think that she has really enjoyed herself in her youth. She says, "But Lord Christ warned that it remembereth me upon my youth and on my jollity, it takeleth me about mine hurt root, unto this day it doth mine her boot, then I have had my world as in my time." So friends, suggesting that she want to dominate her age, she want to dominate men and do not want to get dominated by anyone else in her society. The wife of Bath marries her 5th husband for love and not for money. Even though her 5th husband beats her, she says that she loved him the most. One night, he beats her for tearing pages from a book. He hits her so hard that she becomes deaf in one ear. Realizing what he has done, he asks for her forgiveness. So friends, the story of wife of Bath is very complex. In the case of her 5th, let's say, marriage, although the husband loved her, but he used to beat her also. And once he beat her so badly that one ear of the wife was injured and she became deaf from one side. Now, he felt guilty and wife of Bath forgave her 5th husband. She on this note says, "But at the last with mutual care and woe we fill accorded by us selves too. He yaff me at the bridle in mine hand, to hand the governance of house and land, and of his tongue and his hands also, and made him bring his book, unoon right though," suggesting that wife of Bath has made her husband free from her dominance. In this way, the wife of Bath is able to gain sovereignty over her 5th husband. A similar theme is expressed in Wife of Bath's Tale. According to the Wife of Bath's Tale, women most desire sovereignty in marriage and over their husband. In conclusion, even though the Canterbury Tales was written in the late 14th century, many of the characters in Canterbury Tales seem real even today. One of the most memorable pilgrims of the Canterbury Tales is the wife of Bath. She is a lusty and domineering woman who is proud of her sexuality and believes that the women should have sovereignty in the marriage. So, friends, we can understand that wife of Bath is a character who has lived a complex life, and her complexities are shown with her relationships with her husbands. So that is all for today. Thank you for listening.